Welcome aboard, folks. I'm Stephen Malkowich, your captain on this adventure called Ship of Fools. I'm a fool. Lucky for you, I'm not sailing solo. Join me and a boatload of people, all just trying to make sense of this crazy world. It's a fabulous mess, and you're invited. Ray Goldenchild, thank you very much for making the journey out from, is it East Van? Burnaby.
Brentwood. Yeah.
Out to sunny South Surrey.
I thought this was a setup. I thought I was going to end up in the U.S. in about 4 minutes.
You weren't worried about ice or anything like that, no? You never know. You never know. So, Ray, I'd like to. We'll summarize kind of what we're going to focus on here. Ray, you're an iconic guy when it comes to soccer in the Lower Mainland of British Columbia, Vancouver specifically, but in the Lower Mainland. And soccer is on a lot of people's minds these days. And what I'd like to do is obviously welcome you, which we've done, but I'd like to talk a little bit about your background and what brought you here to Vancouver, soccer, and how that all played a role, and then we'll get into the other things that are kind of important. Not kind of, they are important.
Fair enough. First of all, thanks a lot for having me on the show. Much appreciated. I can give you the long version of my soccer background, or I can give you the short version. And so I'll give you the short version.
Okay.
The short version is I was playing in the United States NCAA Division I, good school in Brooklyn, New York, and my soccer team was United Nations. We had guys from Jamaica, from Trinidad and Tobago, me from Canada, a couple of Italians, a couple of Croatians, and a couple of Puerto Ricans, and nobody got along, right? Nobody got along. Nobody got along. I mean, nobody got along. Okay. The only thing we had in common was everybody watched a show called 60 Minutes. 60, I don't know why, but back then, if you were featured on 60 Minutes, you were either going to prison or you're going to be famous, right? One or the other, right? So I watched this episode where the whole team was watching an episode called Vancouver. Vancouver, that was the episode, Vancouver. Okay. And it was like the Wild West. There's money out there, real estate, this, you could do anything. And I'm like, I need to go to there, okay? So we get 2 months off every summer during the school season, your off season. And my sister had just moved out here. I'm like, I got to get out there. I got to see this place. It's like the Wild West.
What year are we talking?
94.
94? Okay.
I'm like, I'm heading out there. Okay. Get on a plane, O'Hare. I call my sister from O'Hare and I said, hey, when I get to the airport, what do I do? She's like, get on a bus and tell the bus driver, you need to get off at Denman and Davie. Right? Okay. From O'Hare to YVR, I forgot. I get on the bus, I said, take me to Denham and Daisy. And they start laughing at me. And I'm still coming with that New York energy. Yeah. Right? I'm like, what? Are we getting down here? No. It's Dave. Okay, I know that. Anyways, long story short, I get out here and I had no idea. I've never, the farthest I'd been to the west was Calgary. And this place was beautiful. Like, I came from New York.
Shangri-La.
Breathe, fresh air.
Salt air.
Right? Buses ran on wires. I don't know what is this? We're in the future. You know what I mean? And in New York, I'm not going to lie to you, Stephen, at 2 a.m. in the neighborhood I lived in was Flatbush. And I'm not from New York. I went to school there. But I lived there now going to school. I lived in Flatbush in the neighborhood Canarsie. At 2 a.m, when I'm walking down the street and I see people walking, I mean black people, my people, they're like, I go to the other side of the street, right? Because I don't want this to be my last day on earth. You just don't know. Yeah. In Vancouver, my friend, at 2 a.m, walking down Davie Street, people go to the other side of the street. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm home. I'm never going back. You know what I mean? It was just an amazing city. I mean, it was, everybody hugs. You try to hug somebody in New York, you're going to get stabbed. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean? You don't, and then everybody says hello, they hug, I was like, a place like this actually exists, right? And I'm like, I got to stay here. And so because I played soccer, I was able to create a real good situation for myself, right? I was able to get into a school, some guys who owned a soccer team, they got me a place to live, work, the whole thing. And so because of my ability to play at a high level at the time, this is the reason I was able to stay in Vancouver. You imagine, and my coach is calling me saying, where the hell are you? Training camp starts tomorrow. You're not here. You need
So were you playing, when you came here, were you playing professionally? Or
No, we were playing
club.
NCAA Division I is the highest
Yeah,
level.
I know that. But when you came to Vancouver with
just,
soccer.
just semi-professional in that sense, where
Club.
clubs take you in and they give you benefits, I should say.
Right. Yep.
So, and this is basically how I got my start here. And through soccer, I mean, it opened every door for me, right? So this sport has really allowed me. And I was in the nightclub business for a long time. I ran this club used to be called Sneaky Pete's and then Level 5.
Okay.
Right. And it was owned by a BC Lions fella, Sean Millington.
Okay.
He owned it at Level 5. And the way I get into the nightclub business was I put on a soccer tournament here for African guys.
Okay.
And it's a party. We're going to have a tournament. You got a party. You got to have a place to go.
Yeah.
I went to him and I said, hey, can we use your club for a night on a Friday so we can do a nice party for these guys that we're doing this tournament? He says, sure. And it was such a huge hit. So many people came in. And he's like, can you do this every Friday? And I was in the nightclub business for a decade. Okay. After that, I became a promoter. But that again was through
soccer.
So it's done everything for me. It's given me so many opportunities, opened so many doors for me. It's allowed me to help so many people. So this is a short story.
Yeah, no. Now, that was a Reader's Digest version, okay, which is fine. That's fine. But you are an individual that I think, and I'll use the term, pays it forward with regards to whether or not whatever sport you're talking about, it's a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
We can talk about soccer, we can talk about golf, we can talk about hockey. Any sport is a metaphor for life. You can do everything perfect and still shit doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's what sport. That's why you put young people in sport, is to understand this is life.
Yeah,
this is the way life is. So metaphorically speaking, soccer for you is a metaphor for life.
I always say sport is life and life is sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is
so you're very involved with the soccer community, and you're involved with youth soccer. You have an academy. Called
Orix Soccer Academy.
Orix Soccer Academy, which I apologize if I'm going to ask some stupid questions, but there are no stupid questions.
No stupid.
I'm not a soccer guy. I'm not. I didn't even know. I didn't even know the Whitecaps were playing in the playoffs. I was still enthralled with the World Series. So, but I've never.
I think the whole world was.
Yeah, but I've never been a soccer guy. Now, my oldest son swears at me because I never got him into soccer, but I came from the prairies. Soccer was non-existent. You were playing hockey, and the problem was that, in hockey, the one thing you can't teach in sport is size.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And he didn't have the size, but he had the skill, and he did get quite far with his hockey. But it wasn't happening. But he always says to me, "Why didn't I could have been size and you'd put me in soccer, but you put me in the two lacrosse and hockey."
You tell him geography, man, geography.
And honestly, and I can say this very honestly, I never thought about size in relation to sport. Until I got older, in my older years, because it wasn't an issue when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
But then it became an issue, I'm going to say probably about 20, 25 years ago. And you can see that. You're not, you don't see a goaltender in the NHL that's under 6'4", 6'5".
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And obviously in soccer,
they're big dudes now.
They're big dudes, man. Big dudes. You can be agile as shit, but it really doesn't matter if you're 5'6". Yeah. Be agile as shit and 6'9". And then going off on a tangent here, that basketball player from Quebec, he's 7'10".
Oh, is this the kid playing in Florida?
Yeah.
7'9".
7'9".
He's a beast, right?
How?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I remember seeing on TV on the news a couple of years ago about this kid when he was 7'2" or something, and it was crazy. He's 7'9".
He's eating some special kind of Fruit Loops, man.
He's on the tip-off of the game there. He's standing there, and the two guys beside him are 6'8", and he's dwarfs them.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, I digress here. We're getting off topic.
This is sport today.
Yeah, it's sport today. So let's talk about your academy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that and the impetus of that and how that started.
2015, I've always been from the school, with all of these sports, hockey, basketball, soccer, there's a orthodox way to do things, right? So kids, there's a school of thought that this is the only pathway. And I've always pushed against that. And when we talk about soccer, at my academy, we don't teach soccer. The game is football. That's actually the game. Soccer is just a hybrid of the game that's played in North America and maybe Australia. And to be honest, we're a banana republic in the game, right? We're about as close to a banana republic. The kids here do well despite the system, not because of it. We just produce really good, talented kids. But those kids are out there. It's the hunger they have that gets them to that point. It's not because our system is set up to produce this level of talent. You go to Brazil, you go to England, you go to France,
Spain, Portugal.
Spain. Those systems are set up to produce. We're not. We just have some really talented kids. So we teach kids how to play football, the actual game. And that game is really played here, IQ, high IQ. And so we've been successful to have our kids who weren't assessed or identified as necessarily high-level players at 13, 14, they come to us as kids who have been left behind. And when we talk about development, whether it's soccer or hockey, whatever else, you really judge a kid when they're about 17, because that's when the determination is made whether or not they're going to go play at NCAA Div 1 school, play professionally, national team, or whatever it might be. It's at about that age when you really see a player. So, trying to determine a 13, 14-year-old kid has got it. You wait until 17 or 18. So those kids come to us at a good age. And what we see is that our kids, after they've been with us for 3 or 4 years, they lap the kids who left them behind, right? And so for me, I offer alternative pathways to these kids that were left behind. I actively search out kids that, hey, I didn't make. And here, the highest level amateur for kids is called the BCSPL, British Columbia something league, something Premier League. I don't even know what it's called, but it's the high-end league. And those kids that don't make it there, we're getting those kids in abundance. And we see, fast forward at 3-4 years, they're lapping those guys.
So when you started this in 2015, was the sole purpose of starting it because of this issue that you just described, or what was the rationale or the reasoning for doing it?
I've always been teaching the game, and you just get to that point where you do have to do some branding, some marketing, right? To just say, I'm a coach, I have a team. The kids are kids, and they want to go where sometimes there's lights, tracksuits, nice uniforms. They brand, social media, 2015, 16, we're talking about social media now. So if you don't market yourself in a way that speaks to that demographics, you're not, you might have great ideas, but it'll just be you and you, right? So we had to set up a body, an entity that represents, hey, this is our academy, right? And so everybody's welcome. Then we can send out our message, right? But we have to have a vehicle first. And so the vehicle was the academy. So for me, 2015 was the appropriate time I've always been somebody who's bucked the system. I've never been a conformist, right? So, they go this way, I go this way. I see things for what they are, in my opinion.
So you were the academy, when you have teams in the academy. What league do they play in?
They play in the Academy Super League. So there's a league in the Lower Mainland called the Academy Super League, and that houses all. There's a lot of academies now. When I first started out, I was one of the few. Now there's lots and lots of academies, right? So it's grown exponentially.
So there is no, and forgive this for the stupidity of this question, there is no minor soccer. Like there is, and I'll use the analogy to hockey. There's no minor hockey anymore. It's all club hockey.
Basically. Soccer is going the way of the dodo bird as well. There used to be city leagues where you played in this. And to me, this is what it should still be, but it's going in the other direction. There used to be, a kid who lived in the Killarney neighborhood could play soccer against a kid who lived in the Kensington, the Mountain neighborhood, or the Marple neighborhood. Now you have kids in, Killarney, 9 o'clock game in Langley. Yeah. Div 3, house league. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. There's more than, I would guess there's probably 20,000 kids, 30,000 kids who play soccer in Vancouver, maybe more. registered with BC Soccer in Vancouver, there might be 6,000, but that just because they're registered with BC Soccer doesn't mean they don't count, right? So there's lots of other kids who are involved in soccer through the Academy League, or just play at school or play on the street, lots and lots of kids. And there's never a reason for a kid living in Marpole to have to go to Langley to play a Div 3 House League game. So this is just bad management, right? They don't understand what they're doing. So soccer's going the way of the Dodo bird as well.
So you don't ever see it coming back?
Because, I mean, I'm sure these things are consistent across all of these sports. There's so much money involved in pay to play, right? It's a drug. You can't get these people off of this stuff. So there's so much money to be made in pay to play sports that, what's the incentive to go back?
And soccer, the sports is all about accessibility, right?
Yeah.
If you have access to something, there's a good likelihood that you'll play it, you'll get better, you'll develop a system by which you'll produce good quality top end, not just athletes but people. But soccer has always been at the top of the list for accessibility.
Should be.
In my mind.
Should be.
But you're telling me now something a little bit different, that the pay-to-play model is going sideways. Yeah. Right. And I, my oldest son on the hockey end, that kind of went away. I'm going to say he's 31 now. He's probably 16 or 17 years ago. And I was the one that, when we moved back here, he went to the North Shore Winter Club, and then he ended up going to Kelowna to Pursuit of Excellence to play and go to school and play hockey. And now it's inundated with club hockey. There is no such thing as minor hockey.
Yeah.
There isn't. If you're any good, you have no chance, no chance to develop. You got to be good right away. Yeah. But that's just, that's just not just here. That's worldwide. You see videos of little 5-year-old Chinese girls doing swim drills, in the gym, and you're like, holy shit! Like
this is not.
If you don't want to do that, you're out of the game, man. Yeah. Like this is, and that's the same with every sport, because there's a lot of money there.
Yeah.
There's a big chunk of dough there.
A ton of money in North America. The pay-to-play model in North America for soccer is $1 billion industry. $1 billion industry. It's insanity. So you give people that kind of drug, I mean, they're not getting off of it, right? And there's some people involved in the game because I guess maybe that's where they get in their own lives, they don't have any authority. So they, a lot of these districts and governing bodies full of jackasses that they wouldn't know the difference between a banana kick and it's a kick in soccer you do, banana kick or a banana loaf. They have no idea which is which, right? So the whole governance is inundated with a bunch of idiots. And then you have a bunch of people that are just making money hand over fist.
Are there any rules for, and I'll ask, because this comes to mind, for when you recruit, like recruitment? Because I can talk to softball, which I had a daughter that played competitively, and there were no rules. The only rule about softball was, if the Delta Heat recruit you, and they're putting the team together that they're going to win Canada. Yeah. We want you.
It used to be that way in soccer, where they were districts. And so if you lived in this geographic area, you could only play for this team. And they would have, and then you had, the exception was you could have 5 players from, they said, out of district. But those rules are completely gone now. Play wherever you want. Right?
Year by year.
You play wherever you want, when you want. So those rules are gonna. I think it's a welcome change. I think kids should play, where they feel comfortable, right? And I think putting in artificial lines on the map saying you can't. If people just give another address anyway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
back in the day, what used to have to happen is that with the hockey end, to join a club team, you had to prove that you didn't live in the area where you lived. Like if you came back and you say moved to Surrey and you were gone for 2 years, you had to prove that you had been gone for 2 years before you could go and play at the North Shore Winter Club or the Burnaby Winter Club. Yeah, they used to catch people. I'm serious. And there was parents that would buy a condominium in North
You're
Van.
kidding
I'm not
me.
shitting you. Like it was, hockey is like,
See, I mean, what are we talking about now? Are we talking about sports for kids? What's going on here?
it's
Right.
pretty like, and it's priced itself. And that's what I find interesting about talking to you about the soccer end of things, because in my mind, I always thought the price of the barrier to entry for soccer was like
Should be, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be low because there's nothing. You don't need anything. All these costs are artificially inflated. You need a ball. You don't even need uniforms. You need pennies. You know what I mean? You can go play. Well, we used to play skins and shirts, right? You don't need any of that stuff. But, the affiliation fees, and every coach has to have this license and that license. And they find creative ways to keep bringing up the cost. And then those costs are then passed down to the families, and
they can't afford it.
They can't afford it, right? To me, it's like, look, if you're a coach with your heart in the right place, and you pass your criminal record check in this community soccer, you're just really there to supervise, right? Because kids will figure it out. What coaches do we have to play ball hockey in the alley?
Yeah,
right. Because we all play. I grew up in the Maritimes, so you can't play ball hockey. You're not going to have any friends.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't remember seeing any coaches.
There was no coaches.
There's no coaches.
There's
right?
no coaches.
So,
but you very rarely. That's the thing, is that we live across the street from a park that's just, it was never ever used until COVID.
Yeah.
And then after COVID, all of a sudden they realized, hey, holy shit, there's a park here. And it's nice to see little kids out there playing ball, hardball. And I think there's sometimes we haven't seen soccer much lately, but there's the big facility out here in Surrey. We used to go see our grandson play indoor soccer because they've got a big indoor facility, and that's fun. That it's fun because the kids get to run around, they get to burn off some energy, and it's like you don't need to know how to skate. Like I say, the barrier to entry is like you just have to be able to walk and run, and you can play.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm sort of shocked that soccer has become this, but I'm not, because everything has become this.
Yeah, and it's not the right direction, because historically soccer's been really a sport for the masses, for the poor, right?
Yeah.
And 99% of the best players on earth are coming from socioeconomic situations that are less than ideal, right? Yeah. So they're the poor, you know what I mean? But they have the hunger, right? They have the hunger. And I mean, a lot of sports, basketball, inner city, it's an inner city game, right?
Yeah.
The best players didn't come from wealth or the middle class. They came from this class of people that, they
you have to have the heart.
That hunger and that heart, right?
So the Vancouver soccer scene now, from a development perspective, you're saying that it's the majority of it's club, but in your academy, do you actively recruit, or do the kids just come, or do the parents come to you? Do the kids come? Like, how do you?
I don't do a lot of recruiting. Word of mouth.
Okay.
Right. So if word of mouth for the unique way that we teach kids, because I don't coach, we teach, right? Coaching is overrated. Teaching, way underrated. You got to teach kids how to play the game. You got to teach you how to think the game, right? And so most of our players come in through word of mouth. Other kids have been through the program. They tell them about it through friends. I've tried, but we've compared. We've done the social media campaigns and the marketing campaigns, and we find at the end, and it's not just, we can go and buy ads on Google or Facebook or Instagram, and we can get a lot of inquiries, but the ones that come through word of mouth are quality. Yeah. Right? They're quality. If you want to talk in terms of marketing, quality leads, right? Yes. They're actually quality.
They're authentic.
They're authentic. And a lot of the kids who contact us through social media, most of the time they're wasting our time, right?
Yeah.
They're not serious.
So how young do you take the kids in?
Today I was running a skills center, and that's from kids 8 to about 12. So from 8 to 12, and then our team start at U16.
Okay.
Right? So everybody before that just trains once, twice a week, and then at U16 they actually get placed on teams. Now we're starting this spring a U14 team because there's quite a bit of demand And so we're adding a U14 team. So we have U14, U16, U18, and then we have several men's teams. And in the summertime, we also run a program for some university kids playing at U Sports. Some kids who've played with us in the past come back in their off season, so they'll play with us for 2 or 3 months. And then we also invite kids at other, mostly U Sports schools to come and join us for the summer, stay in shape in the off season. And so,
where do you primarily play out of?
Vancouver and Burnaby. That's basically.
And what fields?
It just depends on the day.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day.
So do you have to? What's the process to get a field?
This is the biggest obstacle to soccer in this community, is that the whole system is upside down. But in Vancouver, the field situation is a complete mess. I mean, I don't even know how they run soccer programs unless you're what's called a legacy club. So you've been around for 20, 30 years, trying to get in now, forget about it, mission impossible. That's right. They don't have fields in Vancouver, and they're not building any fields in Vancouver. If you look, the new budget that is coming out or has just come out, I think they slashed maybe $15 or $20 million to the park board budget.
Really?
Right? So there's not going to be any new fields.
So do you have more kids? Do you have kids from Vancouver are they going across the river? Are they going to Surrey? They're going to...
Yeah, it's very transient. Kids, we have a lot of kids from Vancouver are going outward. I don't see as much traffic from kids outward coming in, but I do see a lot of, there's a lot of kids from Vancouver play, for example, in Burnaby. That's a normal thing. If you're on the east side, a lot of kids play in Burnaby.
Like Jesse's son plays in Vancouver,
He plays
right?
He's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Most of the kids go from Vancouver out, but he comes in from quite a ways.
Yeah.
From White Rock all the way to Vancouver. Yeah. That's not a fun drive.
No, I hear about it all the time.
It's not a fun drive. It's not a fun drive, right?
So you're basically saying that the money has taken hold in the
soccer. I would dare say all sports, but I'm in soccer, and I can see that the money has taken hold of the sport, and we're not interested in Canada in developing players anymore. We're interested in cashing in, right? So, what would you change? Well, first thing is at the grassroots level. The first thing I would think about is because for me, if you build it, they'll come, and in every other country on planet Earth, their sole mission is to produce players for the national team, because you get your pride from what your national team does. When our women's national team won the Olympics, that was huge for this country. When we hosted the World Cup, it was huge. When our men's team qualified for the World Cup in 2022, that was a huge moment, right? They won their first game. So every country on planet Earth, they develop players for the national team. We don't have that same idea here. And if you even look at the makeup of our national team, I just want to make this point. 20, 30 years ago, the Canadian national team was split 50-50. Half the guys came from the East Coast, half the guys came from the West Coast, mostly British Columbia. I don't know if we have anybody in the national team now. We can't even claim Alphonso Davies. He's Edmonton, you know what I mean? And we didn't develop him. His formative years were in Edmonton. So they used to be 50. So we're not producing players on this side of the country anymore. My first step would be, so the problem is a lot of our governance people, they're mixed up in politics in the wrong way. They should be there to promote the game. If I were them, in every neighborhood in Vancouver, and Vancouver has, I think, 24 unique neighborhoods, right? Killarney, Mount Pleasant, Little Mountain. In every neighborhood, you drive by and you always see dilapidated tennis courts. Lay some turf, little mini fields, and leave it alone. And the kids will play, and they'll start to play organically. All this, you have to play in the team, and just let them play and keep it loosely monitored. And what will happen is you're going to grow the game organically. To build a turf field and a dilapidated tennis court is pennies, costs nothing. But these people will take 5 years to do studies on how to build a giant turf field. The studies will cost you more than the field would have cost you if they'd have built it 5 years earlier, right? So they waste a bunch of money doing the studies. And then 5 years later, they tell you they can't build because this new administration came in and they don't want to build a field. Now they want to do this kind of project. So just building mini fields in every neighborhood in Vancouver and letting kids play, that will grow the game organically. Take the adults out of the game, let the kids play organically. The city would actually cash in, by just having inner city leagues if they just built little mini fields all over the city and just do inner city leagues. Kids who want to play club soccer, that high level stuff, there's a place for them too. But every, micro programs is the way to go. In every other country in the world, that's what they do.
Really?
14, 15, 16 years old. You go to Europe, you go to South America, they play, in South America it's called futsal, 5-a-side, until the kids are 14, 15. Everybody plays. You don't need big fields. You can play it on the street, in the back alley, anywhere. And everybody plays. That's why you have, right? You have. So, and these kids are playing every day because you don't need to book the field. Your club has to book the field. You have to have pop-up nets and this and that, a coach, and you don't need any of this stuff. Show up and play. Right. So
obviously this isn't, you've been talking about this for a while. Does anybody listen to you?
Well,
do any politicians listen to you?
I even tried to run for park board to try to push this idea. It didn't work out for me.
Didn't work out.
I realized politics isn't about good ideas. I got a lesson in civic politics. It's not about good ideas. Right. It's about who you know, who knows you. Yeah. Where's the cash?
Where's the cash?
Nobody gives a shit about your ideas, right? So I thought I was an important guy with some really good ideas.
And you learned quite quickly.
I learned that I ain't shit. And I got no money. I should just sit down and, right. I'd be better off giving away soccer balls, right? Could have done more good.
So, but with your academy, you're at least, at the very least, you're attempting to change that.
Yeah, we're trying.
You're trying.
Yeah,
you're trying.
We play indoors all winter, and what we play indoors is 4-a-side, 5-a-side. And so all of our kids, for 7 months of the year, they play a small-sided game, and it's much easier for kids to play. And anybody can play. You can jump in right away. You don't have to worry about age groups. You can have a 13-year-old playing with a 16-year-old because it's indoors. It's not about how fast you run. Doesn't matter how big you are. Walls are out of bounds. So the ball hits a wall. Nobody's getting checked into a wall.
Yeah.
The ball hits a wall. It's out of bounds. So now it's about just playing the game and not about how big, fast, strong you are. Right, so we do that 7 months of the year. We train indoors. It's amazing to watch.
So the players that you've had come through your system, you've had obviously some successes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about them.
We've got a kid playing now. He had a really good run. His name is Connor Legg, and he played in all these high-level club teams for a big portion of his young soccer career. And as he was getting to the tail end of his youth career, he started realizing that something doesn't add up here. And so he reached out to us, and his brother was also one of these left behind guys. So it started with his brother. His brother was, what you would call, the house league in a sense, right? Division 2, really. And he got left behind. And his brother came to my team, when he was 14, 15, and he wasn't ever recruited by any of these high-level local teams, these youth teams. And by the time he finished with our academy, he walked on to Dalhousie University's men's team. And in his first year, he played every single game, 90 minutes.
Really?
Right. Yeah. And he wasn't on anybody's radar. But when you go to a college team, they don't give a damn about what youth team you played on. Nobody cares. College
can you
coaches
play?
Can you play? They want to win.
Yeah.
They see a guy who can play. They want to win. So his brother, who had been playing in all these high-level teams, he's his older brother. Like, maybe I'm not doing something right. So he came to us, and we just changed just the way he viewed the game and worked on a lot of his technical stuff, IQ stuff. And now he's in his 3rd or 4th year at UVic, and they just had a good run. They didn't make it to the Nationals, but boy, do they have a team. Have a great team.
Have you had any players come through that have gone down to the States and played Division I?
Yeah, we've had some kids going down. We had a kid last year. His name is Giordano Pinto. Same thing. He was cut from his, back then it was Metro. That was a really high level. And he got cut from his Metro team, I think, at the age of 14. And same thing, he made the transition, got left behind, came over to us. Fast forward, UBC just won the national championship last year, and he was on that team. And he was one of the few kids on the UBC team that didn't play for the Whitecaps. Wasn't in the Whitecaps Academy. If you to play on UBC, you're a Whitecaps Academy.
Tell me, explain to me what the Whitecaps Academy is.
The Whitecaps are our team.
I know there's a pro team
MLS, and so they have the academy, and that's about that. As a youth player, to play in their academy, the doors are open for you.
But is there a fee associated with playing in them?
Once you're at that level where you're being invited to play for their academy, no.
Okay.
To get there is the read the fine print. So to get to the Whitecaps Academy, you have to play at the highest level youth league, which is what I told you before, the BCSPL. And the average cost to play in that league, probably about $3,000 and up, right? So by default, you've already excluded probably 25 to 50% of kids who are good enough to play, but can't afford, right? So it's not about how good you are now, it's about can you afford to pay, right? And so the Whitecaps will only recruit you if you play with one of these teams. So by default, they're also mixed up in this racket, right? Because, maybe they're not intentionally doing it, but they only recruit from this league. And to play in this league, you have to, you got to pay. You got to pay the piper, right? And so this is the issue. So the kids who play at Whitecaps, yes, they are the best kids that are left.
How young do they start them?
Usually about 13, 14. Yeah, 13, 14.
And is it girls and boys?
I don't know about they have a young girls program, but the women's team, that's no longer.
Okay.
It's no longer.
So okay. That provides us with a kind of a segue here into talking about the Whitecaps.
Yeah. And
when we first initially started talking and then I started reading a little bit more and paying a little bit more attention on the soccer end of things, and this will segue into FIFA and eventually, but I didn't realize that the Whitecaps are screaming that they need a new stadium.
Yes.
Okay. Now the World Cup's coming here. I thought that would be a nothing burger because isn't BC Place being completely redone for the World Cup? Like what, Ray? Can you explain this shit to me?
It is
because it doesn't make. I was trying to figure it out.
So we've got to go back into time, right? When the Whitecaps are not a soccer club; it's a franchise of MLS, Major League Soccer. So they could, it's a franchise of an American company. They could move at any time.
Anywhere, and they move anytime, anywhere.
Anytime, anywhere. So if we go back, when they first, proposed this idea of the Whitecaps, they were playing off the nostalgia of the previous Whitecaps that played in the North American Soccer
and played at Swangard.
They played at Empire.
Okay.
Empire. They were talking about those. So they took that nostalgia and said, this is the Whitecaps.
Okay.
But two different things, right? And if you remember, when they came the first time, this was really about trying to get a waterfront stadium, right? They were trying to get a waterfront stadium back then, and the council voted it down. They didn't give them the waterfront. I think they wanted it down by the sea bus, overlooking the water. And and if you really look, and I'm not saying they were playing the same game, but if you really look at all these stadium proposals all over North America popping up now, these look more like real estate plays than sporting ventures, right? The real estate, pennies on the dollar, the tax breaks. It looks like that's what a lot of these pro sports owners are really after, right? I think the sport is a secondary thing. I think the sport is a vehicle to get the real estate that they're looking for. So they didn't get the real estate. And so, it's not as, owning the Whitecaps wouldn't be as lucrative as owning, I don't know, Nashville, for example, right? Or Miami, because they have a stadium, right? And when you have the stadium, you make a ton of money on the concessions, parking, the food. And so here, I don't think the Whitecaps are really cashing in a way that...
They're truly just a tenant.
They're a tenant. They're not maximizing what they could truly, right?
So okay, then let's park that for a second and let's talk about the World Cup.
Yeah.
So we're going to get 5 games, apparently. Is that right?
I think 7.
7 games?
Yes, 7.
Okay. Now, don't be offended when I say this. Why should I give a shit about that? And why why should all this money be spent on something that's not? I'll admit this. I've never been to the reason I brought up Swangard because I think I went to see a soccer game at Swangard.
Great environment. Great ambiance.
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
When I lived in Burnaby, but why? Okay, first of all, why should I care Secondly, should I care? And if I do care, should I care about the amount of money that's being spent about this thing here? And I know you have a take on this, and you sent me a good piece that we're probably going to run. But let's talk about that.
I think everybody should care. There's nothing innately wrong with hosting a sporting event, but if the sporting event, if the math doesn't make sense, right? I mean, the sporting event is meant for the people, right? Mm-hmm. So if your average Joe can go and watch a World Cup, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. There's nothing better on planet Earth than the World Cup. I wish I can afford to go, but I can't.
How much are tickets?
It's insanity. It's insanity. It's insanity. The thousands, tens of thousands. This is not. It's no longer for the people. This is corporate events, and all these events are going the way of the dodo bird, right? Mm-hmm. This is a corporate affair. It's not for the people anymore, right? And what is? I mean, we bring the World Cup here, and we look at the Olympics, for example, in 2010. And there's a legacy left behind for that. We have the SkyTrain, we have this line, we have that line, we have Sea to Sky Highway. I mean, those are things that we're still benefiting from today. There's the gymnastics center they built at Hillcrest. They built I think.
Well, they got the Olympic, like the Olympic ring, like the oval.
We see it. We see it with our eyes. We see it with our eyes. But with soccer, I don't know with this World Cup what will be left here as a legacy for the community, because, they're going to have to lay natural grass in BC Place, right? They're going to have to grow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's turf now, and you can't play on turf.
So they're going to put real grass in.
Real grass, and it's not put in real grass. It's a real process. I mean, they have to grow the grass. They have to mature the grass.
So they actually grow it in there. They don't really sod.
And no, I don't know if you can really sod it. It's a very, very complex process, costly process. But they have to bring in that grass into BC Place, and when the World Cup is done, it's gone. Not that we would want it there anyway, because we couldn't maintain it. So I'm just not seeing where they're building anything that will leave a legacy here in Vancouver for the actual residents. For the cost of this World Cup, when it was first announced in 23 that we're getting the games, the numbers they were talking were about 250 to 300 million. Now we're in excess of 550 million. We're going closer to 600 million. And I guess by the time the World Cup comes, we'll
be $1 billion. We'll be close to $1 billion.
It'll be a lot. And so for that kind of money, what's being left behind? Am I seeing 10 new turf fields built, right, for the World Cup? Am I seeing?
Are you seeing tennis courts?
What am I seeing? And what I'm seeing is I'm hearing about they're building a temporary facility at Killarney. And after the World Cup, they're going to take it down, basically, right? That's it. I don't know what else is being built here for that World Cup, because
that's in 2026. That's coming up. So how fast are they going to be able to grow the grass?
I would suspect they're going to.
How do you do that?
Yeah, they're going to have to boogie, right? They're going to have to boogie. I don't know if it's even being grown here. Maybe it's being brought in, but this is a real expensive process. Like if you look at some of the World Cups in the past, like in Korea, Japan, when they did their World Cup, they would actually roll the grass out of the stadium, and then for the game they would roll it in like on a conveyor. It would actually come into the stadium. So it's intense. It's intense.
And a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but I'm just not seeing the long-term benefits here for the community. There's not a bunch of fields being built. They're building something at Killarney, but that was long overdue. They should have built that 10 years ago, right? And so on the upper side of Killarney, on the upper field at 49th and Kerr, they're building something there, but that's for the community, and that should have been done a long time ago. And I think that's more for athletics than anything else. But on the lower part where the World Cup teams will practice, that's a temporary fixture. Those buildings are going to be placed that are temporary. They're going to go after the World Cup.
So in your opinion, the expense that's involved in this, and not to say that you're against any kind of major sports event happening, or any event for that matter happening that's good for the community, there should be some sort of legacy, something that's left over. And you've cited some specific examples that aren't that far back in history, where the event facilities that have been constructed have gone for shit after
Yeah, but there was a lot of money spent building it. Brazil is the best case, is the best example. In 2014, these white elephant stadiums, they call them, that they built. A lot of cement was laid, but these stadiums aren't being used anymore. So that's a lot of, and a lot of people are displaced. A lot of people in these favelas in some of these cities were displaced to build some of this stuff. And, you know, it doesn't get used. I'm all for the World Cup coming to Canada, to Vancouver, but my God, for $600 million, you can't build, you know, 5 turf fields for the community. $600 million. And we can't get, the biggest landlord in the city is the city. They own all the land. You're telling me they can spend so the city is going to spend $350 million for this World Cup is what is being talked about that they don't have. And the province is chipping in another $150 million.
And is the federal government must be
federal government?
Where are they playing in Toronto too?
Toronto, Vancouver, and I believe I would have to think Montreal. I don't think there's any games in Edmonton. Maybe Edmonton, because Edmonton could host a game, but Toronto, Montreal for sure. Toronto and Vancouver for sure.
Toronto, Vancouver for sure. So FIFA takes their chunk, which is pretty much all of it.
You got to pay the big fella first, right? So they get all the money from the TV. They're saying that there's going to be some massive economic impact, and for the city, but I don't know. There's not a lot of evidence of that. I mean, ask the guy who owns Boston Pizza. I don't even know if he's going to be able to operate during the days of the games, right? Because he's not a licensed operator with FIFA. So I don't know. How do you measure the economic impact? I'm sure there's a formula, but $600 million, are we really, you're talking about Vancouver in the summertime, and our occupancy rate for hotels in the summer is already close to 100%. So what is it that you're actually bringing to this city that we already don't have in the summer in terms of economic impact? We're already at capacity. We're not Qatar trying to the map. People know Vancouver.
People know what Vancouver
is. So for me, I think it's a great idea. If it meant for $600 million, this city gets some badly needed facilities.
So who's the lead? I'll ask you this question. Who's the lead hand in this from a Vancouver perspective? Meaning, like, who's the one? Like, is it like the Olympics? Like, you have a committee and they're all on the take.
I'm not going there, but well, I mean, they deal with the city of Vancouver, so the mayor has to be very much involved. They deal with the city of Vancouver. Canada Soccer is definitely involved, and on some level, the provincial governing body, BC Soccer, would definitely be involved in some of the planning, right? But I think for an event like this, it's really the federal government, Canada Soccer, and the city government where it's being hosted. I think those are the main players, right?
So. But have you been privy to any of the discussions because of your involvement in soccer, or are you just you're nobody?
Listen, just to find out the contract that the city had with FIFA, it took 3 years. It was the fellow there from the Breaker, Bob Mackin. It took him 3 years. He had to sue the city. Had to sue the city just to look at the contract. So they're very mum about everything they do. It's all done in the shadows. Definitely, because the cost that was sold to us was $250 to $350. Now we're up over $600 million, but there's no real accounting or real budgeting as to why have we ballooned the cost triple, 3x. Where's that money going? So there's no real accountability in that sense, right?
See, I'm learning something today here from you, that they're putting real grass in BC Place.
Yeah, definitely.
I did not know that.
And it gets deeper than that. So the facility they're building at Killarney for the teams who are coming here to train on, that grass will be exactly the same as what's on the field at BC Place.
And then once they're gone, then that grass will be gone.
It has to be exactly the same grass. They have to train in exactly the same grass as what's in the stadium.
Wow.
And as soon as the World Cup is over, the grass in BC Place, that'll be gone. And the grass at Killarney, that'll be gone too. Nobody's maintaining that. It can't. You'd pay somebody $200,000 a year to maintain that. It's a real science. It's a real science, no joke.
Yeah. See, do you believe the average schmo even knows this?
No,
they don't.
No,
they don't.
It's a big deal. Arsenal was supposed to go to Nigeria. There's a big team in London called Arsenal.
Yeah.
It's got a huge following in Africa, as Chelsea, Manchester United, and their groundskeeper had to go to Nigeria for Lagos to go and inspect the field. This is a huge event. Arsenal's going to go to Nigeria to play in a friendly. It's probably going to generate millions and millions of dollars. They send their groundskeeper to Lagos to go and inspect the grass, and he came back and gave it a failing grade. No tour.
No tour.
No tour. It's that serious for players at that level. The grass they play on has to be.
See, just hearing this from you now, I know it's going to be $1 billion.
I can only imagine.
It's going to be $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's going to be $1 billion, and we're going to be left with.
We're going to be left on the hook.
Yeah.
And listen, for me, look, I if I have to, get smuggled into the event in the food cart, I'm going to go figure out a way to watch this game. I may not be able to afford to pay for it, but I'm not saying the event is bad. I'm just saying it could, there's better ways to spend $600 million. If it costs us $10 million to build a turf field or whatever it is that cost is, you're telling me out of $600 million, the city of Vancouver desperately needs fields, right? For like kids to play, adults to play, women underrepresented. You know how many women's teams there are in this city? Tons. No practice fields for them, right? Nobody even talks about it. It's a huge issue. And so you're telling me you couldn't build 5 to 10 fields? I mean, this would be the perfect justification. The World Cup is coming. We want to do something amazing. We want to leave a legacy here. Who would complain? And we can't get a field built during the World Cup? And the only field that they're going to build, they're going to take it with them? I think it's like the Bridge. They're going to take it, they're going to take it back to Switzerland or wherever, what I mean? Wherever FIFA is based out of. Come on, right? $600 million. They could take a fraction of that and build 5 or 10 fields in the city, and everybody would buy
We're
it.
still trying to figure out how do you grow grass I've been to BC Place. I don't know how in the hell you'd grow grass.
Oh, you can't lay grass. You have to grow it. You can't lay grass, because if you lay grass, it'll come up, right? You can't lay sods. It'll just come up. You have to grow it. And I don't know. I'm not that guy. I'm not the expert, but they're definitely having to grow this grass. And the crazy thing is they have to grow it. This is it's craziness, this whole event.
We're talking, what are we, 8 months away?
Yeah. So it's
grow it hydroponically.
I have no
growing marijuana in
BC would be the place, right? BC would be the dope. Maybe we know something that maybe they know something we don't know.
Are they in Toronto? They're going to be putting, because Rogers is fake grass.
Same thing.
So they're going to be putting fake real grass in there.
Same thing. But now Toronto has BMO Field as well. And so I don't know if the games would be at Rogers or BMO, because BMO, they've increased the capacity for BMO. They've done
the football team plays there,
they've
right?
done the Argonauts play there in Toronto FC.
Okay.
It was really built, the primary tenant for that field, I think, is Toronto FC, the MLS team. And then the Argonauts play there, I think, is a second tenant, right? So they've improved that field. They've improved capacity, increased capacity. They've improved that field. So I think, Toronto, I think it'll be an easier proposition. At BC Place, I don't know, because that stadium is old.
Oh, yeah.
It's old, and they're never going to tear it down because they don't have the money to build another one.
Well, we're talking 1986.
Yeah, it's old by all definitions of what a stadium. It's old. They're doing they're refurbishing the inside. You've got to have an enlarged media area for FIFA events, but I mean, it's just an old, outdated stadium, and I don't know.
Are tickets on sale already?
Well, they announce you can buy, but you don't really know who's playing where. Okay. The announcement for who's playing where comes in December. Okay. Right. So in December is when we're going to find out who's actually playing where. And then the frenzy is going to begin. The aftermarket tickets, that's going to become insane. Right. Okay.
And another stupid question that I probably should know is the Canadian team any good?
I like the Canadian team. I really like.
So we have a chance.
Well, not to win it, but but I mean,
let's not get carried away here. Let's not get carried away here, Ray.
I don't know what's in this. I don't know what's in this Pellegrino, but gotta lay off of this stuff, my friend. But no, I mean, no, we're gonna have a good showing,
and that is the Dorito moment of this podcast.
Right. Listen, it's the luck of the draw. The last thing you want is Canada be grouped with England, Brazil,
it's over
Argentina, real quick. Short stay, right? It's going to be a short stay, right? But
points for honesty.
Right? Well, I'm being honest, but I like our chances. Alfonso Davies, he's recovering. He looks good. He was out for a long time. I like our chances. Our team is really, really good. I mean, we're the top team in this region. We're playing better than the U.S. is.
Really?
Yeah, but never count out the U.S. They got 350 million people documented. And at any point, documented. They want to document 50 more, 50 million more to find a few good soccer players.
It's done.
America can do whatever it wants, right?
Why can't we do that?
Well, I mean, there's no
We.
like.
I'm not going to say what we're going to say here.
Right.
Bring them in as Tim Hortons workers.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a nasty thing to say here.
Listen, so we've got to listen. What would be amazing for Canada? Like the win for Canada would be to go to the knockout stages. So if we advance out of the groups, this is something that would be wow. This would be a huge, massive moment for Canada in the World Cup to be a home team and to get out of the group stages. This is like winning the World Cup for Canada. Just to get out of the group stages. That would be like winning the World Cup, right? So
I do have to admit though, when the World Cup is on, I do watch soccer then.
Yeah.
I do.
It's exciting. It's amazing, right?
Yeah,
we're talking, if we're just talking about the World Cup, it's amazing that I wish it was more affordable for your average person to go watch. It's not an event there's not going to be a million kids there.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not.
There might be a million kids out there watching it on the big screen or something like that if we don't burn the city down.
I hope they do something amazing with that where they can set up these big screens like at the Terry Fox Pavilion where kids can be, games going on inside. I'm outside, I can still see. I hope they do a lot. Cool. English Bay would be a great place to do. Things like Commercial Drive is a no-brainer, right?
For sure, Commercial Drive.
Commercial Drive.
But East Valley, for sure.
If the city can still do it right and get and ensure people feel like a part of it, even though you're on the outside.
But if you were a betting man, what would you place the odds on the city doing something right?
Not very high.
There we go. Points for honesty again.
Not very high, right? The viewing parties. I mean, if you can't go into the World Cup, the next best thing is a viewing party.
Yeah.
They hit it out of the park for me in the Olympics. I think the Olympics were great in 2010, but I just don't hold a lot of hope for it.
So looking forward, we've talked a lot about the World Cup, and we should get to wrapping things up here. But the looking forward, soccer and the community. Where do you see it, or where would you like? I say where would you like to see it go, from where it is right now, and I guess that's a big question, but where would you like? Where do you see it going? Do you see the World Cup as being a positive for the local soccer community, aside from the facilities?
Not necessarily.
Not really.
Nah, because we had the Women's World Cup here in 2015, and conventional wisdom would tell you that the Women's World Cup is here, so participation is going to go up, right? And participation didn't go up; it went down, right? So there's no real formula that would suggest that, because I think it's going to be amazing. And I think also the results. If our men's team makes it past the group stage, I think that's really what's going to, that's going to be the, wow, this, really happened on our home turf, because the men's team is going to play in Canada, right? So this happened in our home turf. Okay. But what I can only speak to where I am in this ecosystem. And for me, building micro soccer for the community is the only way forward, where kids can play in their own neighborhoods, play where you live, where kids can play in their own neighborhoods, little microfields that, there's a company in that neighborhood that's doing well, they can sponsor the field. You go to the field, just like you see in baseball with this Hastings baseball, you go and you see all the banners. So every company puts up $1,000 and you build a little microfield.
And you maintain it.
And you maintain it. And it's a community field, right? So it's a community association that maintains the field. And you build one of those in every neighborhood in Vancouver, and you keep the kids in their neighborhoods playing. And with technology today, with apps today, you only have to be a member of the community center. So it also promotes health. If you're a member of the community center, you can use the facility, and to be a member of the community center is $30-$40 for the year. And you have an app, and you and your friends can book online, and you have it for the hour, and you can book a maximum of 2 hours a day, $10 on the app. And so that field, is there. All the park board needs or the community center needs is just somebody to sit there and to make sure that, you don't have the rowdies there. And that's booked by these people, and they get to use it. Put up some lights and run that field from morning until night. And the weekend, you'll have that field booked from 9 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And the way the lights are today, also these lights, floodlights that light up these fields, 20 years ago, when you light up those lights, the whole neighborhood would be illuminated. People couldn't sleep. It's like something out of Seinfeld, right? I can't sleep. Now the technology, they point in just on the playing service. So, we're at a point now where, for me, the microfields in every neighborhood would keep kids in the neighborhood. And then those big fields that we don't have enough of could be left for adults. Now you would alleviate that whole issue of no field time, no facility time. Let the adults play in the big field. Keep the kids in the little fields. And by kids playing in their own communities, micro soccer, the city should be running inner city leagues. It'll benefit them. They'll make a boatload of money because everybody is playing locally. And this is the way to go forward. And playing organically is where you find diamonds in the rough, right? Playing organically. It's not, there's nothing to suggest that all these high level programs necessarily produce players, right? Since we've gone in hockey, since we've gone the way of clubs, we haven't widened the gap with the rest of the world. In fact, the gap has gotten shorter. It's gotten shorter, right? So there's nothing to suggest, there's no evidence to show that all these programs necessarily produce better players. We're no longer.
What it boils down to, though, is basically accessibility. You make it more accessible, more kids participate. The more kids that participate, the better a chance is that you're going to find that diamond in the rough, or you're going to have a better national team, or whatever it is. That's how it works.
We were untouchable in hockey at one point. Right? But that gap is closed. And the more money we extract from the community for the game,
it doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't make any difference.
When was the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup?
Right. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Ray, thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate you. You're a funny guy. You're a good guy. Of course you are.
Thank you for having me.
I your take on the World Cup, on the community soccer, your academy. Shout out if somebody wanted to. What's your URL? What's your website?
Orix Soccer Vancouver.
Orix Soccer Vancouver. Okay.
Never too proud for a little shameless
promotion. And I also would encourage anybody that likes this or watches Ship of Fools. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Please subscribe. We're trying to grow our subscriber base. This is I've spoke to you before about this is a passion project for me, but we do need to have people subscribing to it. And I appreciate you, Ray. I really do. Thank you so much, buddy, for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
You betcha, buddy. Thanks. You may be asking yourself, what's any of this got to do with me? Absolutely nothing. Until next time.